Hi, today's story is Adventures of Riley, Riddle of the Reef. You might remember Riley from before. We went on a salmon adventure with him. This story is written by Amanda Lumry and Laura Hurwitz. Dear Riley, Australia's Great Barrier Reef is in great danger. Large areas of the reef, which is made of coral, are dying. We need to find out why. Aunt Martha, Cousin Alice, and I are flying to Australia to see what's up down under. And we want you to come along. Can you help us solve this reef riddle? Uncle Max. He got a message from Uncle Max. Mom, our water is brown, said Riley. The storm has washed a lot of sediment into the water system, said his mother. Until the water clears up, we can't take showers, wash the dishes, or even make juice. At least you'll have clean water in Australia. Riley flew to Los Angeles, where he caught a flight to Eastern Australia. He landed in Brisbane, which is near the Great Barrier Reef. Uncle Max, Aunt Martha, and Cousin Alice met Riley at the airport. Good day, mate. We have to keep moving so we don't miss our flight to Gladstone, said Aunt Martha. From there, we'll take the helicopter to Heron Island, where our research boat is waiting, said Uncle Max. So there's Brisbane, where he flew into, and then there they are meeting him at the airport. On the flight to Heron Island, Riley caught his first glimpse of the Great Barrier Reef. Wow, it goes on forever, said Riley. It's the largest coral reef system in the world, said Aunt Martha, and it provides shelter and food for thousands of plant and animal species. Did you know that the reef is made up of billions of coral polyps, which are living animals? Said Uncle Max. Coral starts out as tiny larvae, which attaches to the reef, or another hard surface, then grows into a polyp, about the size of a pencil eraser. The polyp then builds a hard calcium skeleton, and over time divides into more polyps, forming a coral colony. These skeletons form the reef and remain even after the coral dies. A coral reef produces its own sunscreen, using the same chemical in the sunscreen that humans use. Corals are like tiny anemones or jellyfish. Over 3 million little algae live in their skin and produce energy for them to feed on. The Great Barrier Reef is so large that it can be seen from outer space. So that's the Great Barrier Reef. Coral life cycle. Number 1, coral eggs are released. Number 2, the eggs develop into larvae. Number 3, the larvae drift until they find a safe spot to stick to. Number 4, the larvae grow tentacles and become coral polyps. Number 5, the polyps grow hard skeletons and divide into other polyps. Number 6, 1 year after the new polyp colony is ready to release eggs. So there's the life cycle of the larva, or the coral. After landing, Uncle Max pointed to a large boat tied up to the dock. Here's our floating lab, he said. Max, said a man on the deck. Wyland, my friend, said Uncle Max. Alice and Riley, meet Wyland. His sea life murals have made him famous, and his love of the ocean has made him an expert on water conservation. I'm thrilled he could join our mission. I wouldn't miss it, said Wyland. I was already in Australia getting ideas for my next mural. Plus, I'll do whatever it takes to help save the reef from bleaching. So there's their laboratory. My mom bleaches my uniform after soccer practice. Is that what you mean? Asked Riley. Not quite, said Uncle Max. Riley blushed. No need to be embarrassed, Riley. That was a great question, Uncle Max said. While bleaching makes white clothes look bright and new, for coral turning white is a bad thing. I still don't understand, said Riley. Uncle Max continued. When ocean temperatures rise or when water quality turns bad, the tiny algae that provide nutrients and color to the coral will leave. This causes the coral to turn white. If conditions don't improve soon enough, the algae won't come back. The coral will then starve and die. Without living coral, the reef and the reef ecosystem will collapse and never recover. Now I get it, said Riley. For their first dive, they placed special sensors along healthy reef to check water temperatures. The reef looked like a giant aquarium full of brightly colored fish and coral. It was easy to see why it was called the rainforest of the sea. We're going to learn about 3 different creatures there. The sea turtle. 6 of the world's 7 species of sea turtles are found in Australia. The largest green turtle nesting ground in the world is found at the Great Barrier Reef. The regal blue tang. It has sharp spines at the base of its tail. It likes to form schools with other blue tangs in the strong ocean currents at the edge of coral reefs. It hides in coral when frightened. And the octopus. It can quickly change its skin color and texture to match its surroundings. This makes it very hard to spot. A female may lay up to 600,000 eggs at a time. So we have the sea turtle, the blue tang, and the octopus. It really does look like an aquarium. Hey, Riley, can you help me with this sensor? Asked Wyland. Remember not to touch the coral. Why? Asked Riley. I thought coral was hard. The skeletons are hard, but the polyps inside stay soft, said Wyland. Even the slightest touch can harm them. Okay, said Riley. Riley dove underwater to place the sensor and found himself face to face with a giant starfish. Aunt Martha wrote danger on her wrist slate and showed Riley. Those are the crown of thorns starfish, said Aunt Martha after they surfaced. They prey on coral and their spines have venom in them. If you get pricked by one, it would really hurt. They got back in the boat and headed north to study an area that had been bleached for a long time. Crown of thorns starfish. It has 5 arms when it's young, but grows up to 20 arms as an adult. Each arm is covered in spines. A single female crown of thorns starfish can lay up to 100 million eggs a year. It eats by turning its stomach inside out on the coral, digesting it and slurping everything back inside. So there they are diving to put the sensors, and there's that crown of thorns starfish. Very dangerous for coral. Soon there was white coral as far as the eye could see. I think this is the place, said Riley. I think you're right, said Wyland. If climate change isn't slowed, almost all of the coral of Australia's Great Barrier Reef will be gone by the year 2050. Pollution, disease, and changes in salt levels and light can also cause coral bleaching. Before 1979, there were only 3 known coral bleaching events. There have been hundreds since then. So you can see the white coral being bleached. When they dove back into the water, they saw hundreds of crown of thorns starfish. The water looked especially murky, so they took water samples as well as placing more sensors. Even in Australia, the water isn't always clean, thought Riley. Wyland spotted a giant shell resting on a reef and took a picture of it. Back on the ship, Wyland explained, that shelled creature was a triton. Tritons are one of the only natural predators of crown of thorns starfish. The starfish that eat the coral? Asked Riley. That's right, said Wyland. The tritons here need all the help they can get, since it looks like they are losing the battle. The reef is in constant tug of war, and too many of one species can unbalance the ecosystem and threaten the reef. Let's learn a little about the Triton. The Triton is one of the world's largest marine snails. It grows up to 20 inches long. It grips its prey with its muscular foot and uses its toothy radula to saw through the tough skin of starfish. The Triton's saliva paralyzes its prey. So it sounds like we need more of those Tritons to help keep the population of the crown of thorn starfish down. That night, Uncle Max checks the sensor data on his laptop. The good news is that all of the water sensors are working. The bad news is that the water here is 5.4 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal. It takes only a 3.6 degree rise to kill coral. There is only one more area of the reef to study on this trip, but it will take us all night to get there. It's a newly bleached area, reported by Bleach Watch. As Riley drifted off to sleep, the whirring of the boat's motor reminded him of his mom's vacuum cleaner. He dreamed of giant Tritons vacuuming up all the crown of thorns starfish. The next day, Aunt Martha and Wyland swam out to take photos of the newly bleached coral. Some areas looked perfectly healthy, while others were white as snow. Uncle Max, Riley, and Alice got into an old dinghy to collect some surface water samples. They motored around a small island into the open ocean. "There's a Duggan," said Uncle Max. "Duggans are an endangered marine mammal related to manatees and elephants. Rising ocean temperatures are destroying the beds of seagrass that are their main food source." Let's learn about another creature, lionfish. It gets its name from the large dorsal or back fin and the pectoral fins, which form what looks like a lion's mane. The lionfish traps its prey with its pectoral fins, stuns it with venom, then eats it in one gulp. It hunts shrimp, crab, or even other fish. And then we'll learn a little bit about the Duggan. The endangered Duggan can live up to 70 years and grow up to 10 feet long and weigh as much as 1,000 pounds. It is the only herbivorous sea mammal, and its nickname is the sea cow. It floats so well that it has very thick, heavy bones to help it swim underwater. So there's the lionfish and the Duggan. The Duggan seemed to be playing a slow and graceful game of hide and seek when suddenly it dove under and fled. "Shark!" yelled Uncle Max, reviving the engine to get away. Alice and Riley quick pulled their samples in. "That poor Duggan," said Alice. "Both species need to eat. The shark's survival depends on catching a Duggan once in a while," said Uncle Max. "It's unusual to see a great white this far north, but not unheard of." A black boat sped into view, just missing the shark. The surprised shark quickly turned around and swam back into the deep blue sea. The great white shark. It has many rows of teeth. If any front teeth break off while the shark is hunting, they are quickly replaced by teeth from the back rows. It gets its name from the white color of its belly. It is the largest predatory shark, reaching up to 22.3 feet in length. That's huge. Suddenly, the overworked engine sputtered and went silent. "I think this dinghy has seen better days," said Uncle Max as he tinkered with the motor. Alice tried to call Aunt Martha and Wyland. "The radio isn't working either," said Alice. "The island is probably blocking our signal," said Uncle Max. "I bet that black boat could help us," cried Riley. Uncle Max and Alice shouted and waved. "Oh, no," said Riley, peering through the binoculars. "Those are poachers, and they're stealing Tritons." "Oh, man. They don't want to take those Tritons away, because those help with those crown of thorn starfish." What now? Cried Alice. Without power, we'll just drift out to sea. The sharks will love that. I think I can tow us back, said Riley. Are you crazy? Asked Alice. It's way too far to swim. Besides, how can you tow a boat? Easy, said Riley, reaching into his backpack. I'll use my personal scuba scooter. Wyland loaned it to me this morning. Brilliant, said Uncle Max. I'll attach a rope to the dinghy, and you can pull us back. Good thing Riley's thinking. Riley's idea worked perfectly. Coral. A coral colony can be as big as a school bus or as small as a grain of rice. Both sizes exist on the Great Barrier Reef. There are about 800 species of stony corals, half of which live in the Great Barrier Reef. A coral can live to be 1,000 years old. I see our boat, cried Alice. Uncle Max tried the radio one more time. Martha, Wyland, come in, said Uncle Max. What's wrong? Said Aunt Martha. And where's Riley? He's our tow truck, said Uncle Max. I'll explain later. Right now, I need you to call the police. We saw some Triton poachers on the other side of the island. In a matter of minutes, a police helicopter was circling nearby. Riley, you and Alice are amazing, said Wyland. You helped us catch Triton poachers and showed that water temperatures are rising around the reef. Plus, the water samples you collected showed large amounts of sediment and pollution in the water. These all lead to coral bleaching, a problem that is getting worse every year. What can we do? Asked Riley. We need to take better care of the world's water, said Wyland. Water covers almost 80% of the earth and helps us connect together as a planet. Yet human-made climate change and pollution are creating oceans that aren't healthy for coral. What you can do at your house halfway around the world affects the reef and the balance of nature. Using less energy can help slow down climate change. Conserving water and keeping it clean will help make sure that people and the coral everywhere have enough cool, pure water to grow and be healthy. Clean water would definitely paint a brighter future for the coral reefs, said Riley. Back home, Riley shared what he learned about the importance of clean water. He helped his father replace old faucets and shower heads with energy-saving filters that purify and reduce the amount of water they use. He told his family the story of the living reef, the great white shark, and meeting Wyland. He returned to life living the life of a 9-year-old until he once again heard from Uncle Max. Where will Riley go next? And that's the end of Adventures of Riley, Riddle of the Reef.